buys their first car as a car guy. They're easy to modify and they're pretty reliable. Also, Mazda made a ton of them, so they're super readily available. So why in recent years has the prices skyrocketed? It seems like 5 years ago you could find a really good condition and pay like $3,000 for one, where now like a good condition one can run you over 6 or 7 grand. Today I'm gonna go over some of the reasons why I think that happened, and in the process I'm gonna walk you guys through what we're doing to this ND Miata behind me that we just picked up, what we're gonna kind of do to it in order to flip this car or try to make some profit. This is episode 1 of the Flip Miata series. So I've been flipping Miatas for about a year now, and what I've kind of noticed is there's about 4 different categories of Miatas out there. The first category is the Shipbox Miata. That Miata is going to be like under $2,000. It probably barely runs and drives. The owner probably has no title or a salvage title, and none of the paperwork's going to be there. So you're probably thinking $2,000, that's absolutely ridiculous for Miata. Who would pay $2,000 for like a terrible Miata? When 5 years ago, you could find a terrible Miata for like pretty much free and like a good condition one for $2,000. This is the category of Miata I would highly recommend avoid buying unless you want it as a dedicated track car, because probably it won't be legal. The next kind of Miata I want to talk about is the lower end Miata. These run and drive, usually they have most of the paperwork there, sometimes they don't, but there's a glaring issue. Let's say like the timing chain needs to be replaced, it has leaks everywhere, but it runs and drives and the paint is mostly the same color. It'll, probably get you from point A to point B and a good starting point from Miata. I would say that I've found that these Miatas run you about 4 grand, and these Miatas, they're okay. This Miata right here, I would actually say is an example of a lower to mid-level Miata. When we got this car, it was pretty bad. The interior was all stripped out. There's a lot of just small things missing, and the wheels, the fitment was absolutely terrible, and they were way too small for this car. But we were able to pick it up for a good deal. And so the goal of this flip series is actually to take this car from this low to mid-level Miata and take it to the higher end of Miata. And that's what I like to call the high-end Miatas. These high-end Miatas don't have any issues mechanically. They drive straight, transmission, engine are good, and the mileage is like at least below 120,000. Right now, this Miata, I would say, is not quite there. We just, with the new wheels and tires from an ND that we threw on, I'd say it's it's getting into that category, but it still has some issues. Like the seats are still kind of ripped. There's no floor mats. The back of the car just has a lot of paint fade. And I would say those are some of the biggest issues that are preventing this from getting into the class of high-end Miatas. And those are the things that we're gonna try and take care of on this before selling it, so that in order to get it into that high end. The fourth category of Miata is the like next level, pretty much perfect Miatas. And those you don't come by very often. They have less than like around 60,000 miles, clean title, first owner. This is the old guy that has his Miata, that bought it brand new. And these are super rare, and these probably go for upwards of like $10,000 to $11,000. This is the kind of Miata that you only buy if you're a collector and you don't really touch it or mess with it. So I'm not going to talk a ton about that category of Miata because it's very rare and you don't generally buy them, and you don't generally bring any other Miata into that level of Miata just because of the ownership restriction of not being the first owner. So, but yeah, that's the 4 categories of Miata. This car has about 113,000 miles on it. The seats, as I showed before, are pretty torn up. Those are either going to need, I think we're going to either do seat covers or just buy a new seat depending on price. That's probably going to be about $100. We got these new wheels for the car from an ND Miata. Those are $450. And the back needs to be painted, as we said before, and that's probably going to cost around like $50 in new clear coat. The other thing is the timing chain. The timing belt might need to be replaced. Sorry, I keep calling it a timing chain. It is a timing belt. We've done it before, and it should be pretty easy. It'll cost about $100 in parts to do that, and maybe the water pump thermostat, depending on how they are once we look in there. I'm just going to take off this aftermarket intake because it is an eBay intake and try and sell it. And we have a stock intake that we got from the previous owner that we're going to throw on. Interior, we're just going to clean up some odd ends. There's just some things that are, on an older car are starting to fall apart. So we're going to try and clean that up and make it as clean as possible. And so in terms of recouping any value, I think the wheels from this car maybe will sell for, you know, $150. They aren't very good wheels, and they're reps, but they have new tires, so maybe someone will want them for their like Civic. And then we're also gonna sell these Raceland coilovers that came with the car. Those will sell for maybe $200. And then there's also this tow hook, or this tow bar thing in front of the Miata that I guess the previous owner used to tow this car for their RV. We're gonna go and sell those. Let's say they're new, they're $450, so hopefully get $100 back on that after paint it and everything. So yeah, we ended up getting this car for $4,600, which ended up being about $4,700 after fees and taxes and everything to transfer the title. All of the money we put into it in order to do the fixes that we are going to do ourselves, so we're not counting labor, are going to cost about $700. So that brings our total up to, I believe, $5,400 for the car. And then we're hoping with the value that we recoup back on the parts that we don't need, we're going to end up getting about $400 back. So that brings the total to about $5,000 for this car, taxes, fees, and all of the repairs done. And so I'll keep you guys updated on another video when we end up selling this car, and I'll probably make a couple videos in between to show a couple other things that we want to do. There's also an exhaust that's super obnoxious on this car that we need to switch out. Taking that exhaust back will help bring it to a higher value from someone who's looking for a clean Miata. So I'm hoping this car will sell for around $7,000–8,000, which I know it sounds ridiculous for this kind of car, but that is where the market actually is right now. And I think we can bring this car up to that level that it will sell for that price. So thank you guys for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed this video or found it useful at all. And let us know if there's anything else you would like to see from this Miata before we sell it. Thanks, I'll see you guys next time.